There we go. Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting on Monday, October the 3rd, 2016. Mr. Clerk, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes, sir. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. So we got a little bit of a light board here tonight. Mr. Knox, Mr. Carr, myself.
Selectmen light.
Selectmen light, right. So our agenda, as you can see on the board, is 6:30 organization pledge read mail. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. At 6:35, we've got a couple of requests: Castle and Trees sign request, Gallery Cafe entertainment license, and we've got the cemetery commissioners here this evening to discuss the memorandum of agreement regarding the superintendent supervision, cemetery superintendent supervision. At 7:10, we will get into economic development incentive programs, tax increment financing. Actually, I think we're going to table that tonight because with Selectmen Light, there are some other selectmen that are interested in having some input and discussion relative to that, so we're likely going to table that, but we'll have that discussion briefly. 7:20, we have input and updates. We'll open it up for public input. Ask that if you do have anything to offer, that you just be recognized by addressing the chairman with your name and your address, and any comments should be directed through the chair. We'll then have an opportunity for member updates and selectmen goal updates. At 7:30, we'll get into town meeting, special town meeting, which is scheduled for November 16th, 2016. We have two items on the agenda for the special town meeting. First is to finalize the warrant, determine the order of the articles, and direct the posting. And then we have an opportunity to adopt article recommendations with the three present members. We then will have a presentation by the fire chief relative to a paramedic program and Littleton Fire Department reorganization and a safer grant application. So look forward to that. At 8:30, item number 7 on the agenda is town administrator, assistant town administrator for finance and budget will give us an update. And we have an item for Devon's household hazardous waste. We're looking to add a community to that, so we have to vote on that. And then other business minutes approval, and then hopefully sometime relatively close to 8:40, we'll have an opportunity to adjourn. So, right off the bat, we've got some items. Actually, we've got some mail.
Just one item that I included in here. It's actually a packet of materials that I got at a Mass Municipal Association meeting on Friday morning, and it included some updates on their initiatives, the municipal modernization bill, the economic development bill that the governor signed. What I thought was particularly useful was a handout regarding the public records, the new public records law. There's a checklist, some simplified procedures, and it looked like something that would be good to share with staff. I've gone to one training program so far. There's a lot of questions that still exist about how it's going to be implemented. The Secretary of State's office has a public hearing scheduled for October 6th, which is this Thursday, on some regulations that his office has adopted. So there'll be a lot more information we'll be getting in the very near future, and there'll be a number of additional training opportunities that we'll be sending staff to. There's, I think in early November, Copeland and Page, who's our labor council, but is also town council in many communities, is doing a training program at Leominster City Hall that was not that far away, that we can send some folks to as well. So we'll have more to report on the new public records law.
Part of, if I may, Mr. Chair, part of, it was the last session, when this first came up, I volunteered to do a public records request policy for the town, so Well, once we get that, maybe you and I can sit down and
Sure.
kind of draft something.
Okay, yeah, sure, be glad to.
Present to the board.
Yeah, it's a lot of, the many procedures have changed and the rules
Yeah.
have changed, but we could certainly make sure that any policy that we have conforms with the new
Right,
procedure.
I mean, it's, briefly reading it and looking into it, it looks pretty much like an adoption of the existing law would work for us too, but, like, after your meetings and updates.
Yeah, sure, be glad to work on that.
We'll sit down.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good.
I'd just like to say that with the flow chart that was in the back of the packet that you sent to us, that might be something that we could incorporate. We talked about the potential of training folks that volunteer to be on boards and that kind of thing. So those are all volunteers that any training we can offer them, and this could be something that could be included in their
Okay.
packet, so they have a full understanding of
Very,
the public.
very good,
record.
yeah, and I'm sure that as it gets closer to the date, we can, we can bring someone here, we can have someone from our own town council come here and brief the staff and boards on what the new law is going to require us to do.
And that's it for mail.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, on to item 2A, which is a sign request from the Castle in the Trees. So,
Well-
town administrator has done a little bit of homework, and he's trying to bring us into the 21st century with some
Well, I
some
had
graphics.
the helpful suggestion today from an email I got this morning, that was there more information that we could have available on the video screen during the discussion, so we're test driving on your project today, so,
Feedback is welcome.
yeah.
Come on up, ladies.
You guys all rested? Not exactly. Have a seat, whatever you're comfortable with.
Thank you.
Sure.
So as you can see, we're proposing a 4-panel sign. So the first is information about the playground, who designed it, when it was built, just the kind of the rules of the playground. The second panel is all our sponsors. The third is component sponsors, those are specific pieces of the playground. And the last panel is all the committee. So we're welcome to any
And
feedback.
for low-tech, Chris, can you get this on camera? That this is what the kiosk structure looks like, where those 4 panels will be.
I can leave it on the desk in front of me if Chris wants to zoom into that.
Thank you. Oh,
If I may.
Of course.
So is this gonna replace the existing signs that are up there, or are you gonna leave those up too?
No, existing signs will be up there, so as you walk towards the playground, there's the stone wall and the bronze
Bronze, yep.
engraved signs that were there in 91
Yep.
are still there.
Okay, cool.
And then straight ahead, you see a sign for Aiden's Playground, and then the kiosk that Keith just showed you is to the left.
Yep.
And there'll be 1 panel on each side of that kiosk.
Perfect.
To frame out the kiosk.
Yep. And it'll fit, it's, forget the exact dimensions, it's about 24 inches, 25 inches by 3.5 feet, depending on how many words we have approximately.
Ish.
So we're waiting, and it's going to be engraved, it's going to be just the colors that you have up there. It's going to be green background with the white lettering.
Very good. Any discussion, questions?
You've done such a fine job after all this, like, congratulations. And
Thank you.
It's nice that you're recognizing everyone that helped you out with this, and
We tried, there are a lot of people that help, so it's hard to recognize everybody.
you're never gonna be able to recognize everyone that put their time in.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It really is, yeah, yeah. I don't think there's any room for any more discussion. I think
You
it's
ready?
pretty much a slam dunk.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Littleton sign bylaw subsection 173-34C to grant the request of Castle on the Trees to erect a sign for the playground on the town-owned property at 300 King Street.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. There's no discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Thank you
very much. Thank you very
guys.
much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please do, please do.
I just want to, yesterday at the grand opening, Representative Arciero and Senator Eldridge were there, and they presented citations that we want to present to you and possibly, I don't know, put them up in
town
We will
hall.
we'll put them in the
Absolutely.
building, right, we'll frame them
Absolutely.
and get them,
That's great.
put them on the
Just
floor
want
of
to
your choice.
Pass them along. So
That's great.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That's
Great
And the
job,
playground
ladies.
is officially open. It's very crowded today, which is great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
cares about that guy?
I know.
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
Don't spill anything.
Yeah, the water over here. All right, good stuff happening in town. All right, next is 2B, which is an entertainment license request. And this is for the Gallery Cafe at 529 King Street. Looking to,
We're looking to we're looking to have the board approve the request for 4 nights of entertainment in the month of October. The board's procedure can call for public hearing, but you have waived the public hearing request. Thank you. And since it's already October, and since the first Friday is coming up soon, it seemed reasonable to ask the board to waive the public hearing requirement for these individual requests. And we've done that before, whether it's, someone comes in for New Year's Eve or for St. Patrick's Day, that we've done that. And it wouldn't be the first time that entertainment has been located on these premises. In fact, we spent a lot of time over the last couple of years talking about entertainment at this location, so I think we're more than covered. If there were to be an annual entertainment license application, that I think we should do a public hearing on, but for these individual requests, I think it's certainly appropriate for the board to just vote on those without a public hearing. And that's my recommendation. And the staff is fine. We have sign off from the building commissioner and the fire chief, and so I think we're all set.
How about the police chief? You had all 3. I have no issue. I mean, we've done it in the past.
No,
It's,
Anything to promote business, all in favor of it.
yeah, I agree. I think that we certainly had some challenges in the beginning trying to get the doors open, and if we can do anything to help you to breathe some life into the business and bring some folks in, and if this can help out and there's an opportunity for you to do this on an annual basis, we'd love to see you come back and apply for an annual license and see if that might be something we could take a look at as well.
Thank you, Mr.
Excellent.
House. Very much appreciated. My name is Virginia Wood, and I am the owner of Gallery 529 and the Gallery Cafe. And we're part restaurant, part art gallery, and this is my chef, Don McHale, who,
nice to meet you all.
in his spare time, when he isn't behind the hot stoves, is also a musician, and it's his idea to do the music, so.
Yeah, it's initially like to run it as an open mic night to see if people who around town, it's always a thrill, people who don't get to play in front of people, to get out and bring a couple of their friends down, hopefully, to watch them play a few songs. And it's also becomes a nice night out for, adults to enjoy entertainment at a reasonable volume, and not being surrounded by necessarily younger kids looking to have a big party. And I think that the theme of the restaurant and the art gallery, it could be a great thing for, what I've experienced is you get a mix of people who are comfortable playing and people who are uncomfortable playing, but that dynamic, I think, is very fun. And, I think we have a great spot, and we just need to encourage this sort of local input and local involvement.
And a full celebration of all the arts.
Very good.
You'd be all set to go down and sing.
3 of us might form a group, and
Well, there used to be a selectman, and she used to bring her band down to play.
no kidding.
Though, I can't remember her name.
But
Very nice.
I'd like to see, like you said, if it seems to be something that we're getting a good response to, applying for like an annual entertainment license, do something in the similar vein. I think that there's lots of places we can go to see live music that are kind of loud and, I'd have more of a low key,
Sure.
sort of mature atmosphere.
Thinking more like an acoustic.
Well, yeah, that's what it would be. I mean, I think down the line, if if there's a room full of people, it'll be still acoustic based, but there'll be a need for a little bit more amplification just to get it through the room.
Okay.
But that's not something, now it's gonna be more of, almost like a songwriter's night, as people are gonna bring their acoustic guitars down, and, musicians like to, watch each other play, so.
Sure. Sounds like a great idea. If it can bring some new patrons in,
Right.
all the
Friday
better.
nights in October, 9 to 11.
Sounds good. I don't have any further discussion. Joe, you good?
All right, move that the Board of Selectmen vote to waive a requirement of a public hearing and approve the entertainment license application under Mass General Law, Chapter 140, subsection 181, excuse me, for the Gallery Cafe, 529 King Street, Littleton, to allow music performances on October 7th, 14th, 21st, and the 28th of 2016 from 9 to 11 p.m.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Good luck.
Thank you.
you.
If I
Thank
could
you.
just indulge the board for 2 seconds, and that is, on June 1st, my house burned down, and through the mutual aid agreement, Littleton was there. And I want to thank the chief and his crew for all they did to help out with that.
Very good.
So,
Sorry
and
about
also
that.
the town of Littleton, because it got out through the grapevine that one way to support me through all this nightmare situation was to come down to the restaurant. So many thanks to the folks of Littleton and their support.
Nice.
Well, this Friday night, there's a home football game. Maybe people come down and to listen to some music after the football game.
That'd be
Thank
great.
you.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All right. So 2C is meeting with the cemetery commissioners. If you guys want to come on up front, it'd be great. Just have some conversation. So you want to give us a little preface, Mr. Bergman?
Sure. Sure, come on.
Way up front.
Yeah, 3 up front, sure.
He'll fit.
You bet.
Mind your P's and Q's.
Well, normally, it's in the, yeah.
Okay, so we had this on the agenda last week at our meeting, and the board, selectmen asked if it would be possible just to have the cemetery commissioners in to chat with, and reminded me, because I'd forgotten, that when we'd had these MOAs on the agenda before, the other board had attended, so that we could have a chance to just talk about what the opportunities there are to work together, and just what we're trying to do. And in this case, it's Bonnie and I had attended a couple of, Bonnie had attended a couple, I only got to attend one meeting with the cemetery commissioners, where we brought them this model agreement, which follows the selectmen's policy, which we developed a couple of years ago on, as a guidance document for multiple member boards who are appointing authorities. And it began as identifying best practices for how do you supervise and do the performance appraisal of an employee who works for a multiple member board. And the preference that we'd identified, or one of them was identified as option 3, where a board delegates the supervisor role to the town administrator or his designee by a written agreement with the selectmen. So that's what we're looking to do here, and it's we've done them with Council on Aging, Board of Health, Conservation Commission, and Zoning Board of Appeals thus far. We actually have some other boards on our radar screen that we'd like to do them with. I won't mention any names, but
Park and Rec with the schools.
yeah, I've raised it with Park and Rec, and they're thinking about it, and I know that there have been some discussions about other boards as well. So there may be others that are coming forward, but it's an opportunity that the staff at the library, listen, that was a Freudian slip, because we're not going to have an agreement with the library. Or maybe we are, you know.
Time will tell.
We'll trade you for a building, or, but for the cemetery, it's gonna cost a lot more than that. with the cemetery, that there's a lot of interaction right now with the highway and finance departments, that, and in my vision here, the language that talks about having through this agreement, the cemetery superintendent be supervised by the town administrator or his designee. My designee would be that new position that we're creating, Director of Public Works, that would be the logical person to be the staff member who would be supervising. But I think that having that new, our new department head on staff might also be an opportunity for us to have some further discussions at the staff level or between the two boards about things that the cemetery's doing. Maybe there's an opportunity for more coordination between cemetery and highway and other departments.
Excuse me,
Have you talked to Jim about this?
introduce yourself.
Lori Taylor, I am currently the superintendent at the cemetery.
Yeah, but that's just so everybody else knows.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, Jim's not here tonight because he's on
I know.
vacation, yeah.
But have you coordinated this with Jim?
Oh, sure, yeah, Jim, yes.
No, I think during our last discussion, this came up as far as a comprehensive review of each vacancy. We're gonna talk to the commissioners to see what their feeling is, and then we'll make a decision based on
Okay,
what
thanks, Jim.
both boards are, yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah, and it's certain, maybe to be clear, that right now, that we have, in terms of town administrator as designee, you have town administrator. For the future, I would say, once we also have a director of public works, that would be the person to whom I would want to make the designation, but I'm fine to be the supervisor in the meantime, until we make that transition.
Right. Kind of. Thank you. So, first of all, there's a lot of boards in town, and not everybody knows who everybody is. So if each of you could just introduce yourself, just so that we kind of do it for when the public stands up, and then we get recognized for all that you do. You're an elected board. Andrew, you want to start?
Sure. Andrew Samarco.
Mary Gosby. And I'm Janet Sullivan.
Thank you very much. It did come up last week. Keith had proposed this board delegate supervisor role. You guys have seen this before and you voted on it.
Right.
Rather than just having a rubber stamp, we thought it was appropriate to have you all come in, speak with us, have some conversation around this, and I think it's good practice for all of us to kind of work together anyway. So it's just, because this was before us, we thought it would be a good idea to discuss this, and the precedent had been set with other memorandums of understanding that we've done in the past. So we just wanted to welcome you here, give you an opportunity to let us know how things are going, or any thoughts or opinions that you had relative to if we take action tonight. And rather than us just kind of rubber stamping this, I'd rather look you guys in the face. I think we'd all rather
Sure.
look you guys in the face. And also maybe create some opportunities for us to do this more frequently, to Keith's point.
Yeah.
There are opportunities potentially to do some consolidation, or, we're looking at creative ways of better utilizing staff, and see if there's duplication of staff, we might be able to find other ways to coordinate supervisors.
Because
across the
the
departments.
last time these two boards met was over the crematorium, so it's been a long time.
Yes, yes. That was in '09.
It was that long ago.
Yes.
When are you building it?
Yeah, is it shovel ready?
It's a moneymaker.
It is, Jim.
Combination crematorium, medical marijuana, cultivation.
So if I may, Mr. Chairman?
Absolutely. please
So,
do.
last time, at our last meeting, we had some deliberations about, the whole proposal to have the support/supervision of the town administrator or designee to kind of take over the superintendent role, not take over, but supervise the superintendent of the cemetery. And that's where it came into, well, I think it was brought up by somebody in the audience, actually, saying a comprehensive review of the position, possibly, work with the DPW and see if you know, you work close together as it is. What are your feelings on that? Do you have any feelings about that in regards to, or has your commission even talked about that?
We have, but we haven't really sat down and, given it a lot of thought. We heard that maybe Jim would be the overall person, and I think it would be good to have him here with us so he can give his ideas, and because he has a lot of good things going there at I don't want to say at the dump, but under his roof.
Yeah, yeah.
And it'd be good to hear all sides, not just one via a telephone conversation, or when I'm on vacation, I'll see you when I get back.
Yeah.
That type.
Yep. So is that, are you suggesting that we maybe have another joint meeting?
I think we need a meeting so we can see who's going to assume what position. Is it compatible? Does everybody get along with this? Do they approve this? And I think that's something we really need to do, get everyone's opinion on it. And,
That's good.
Yeah, I think, but you're okay with the memorandum of understanding and the memorandum of the agreement? You guys had voted on it and approved it. I think maybe the implementation piece is what we're talking about here. And possibly have a secondary meeting, because I think if we have it before us and we're meeting tonight, we can approve it, but have an implementation meeting, so you can hear, the
Yes.
commission can hear Jim's point of view, the commission, the Board of Selectmen can hear Jim's concerns, if there are any, and kind of have an open discussion, so everybody can be, just exactly what you said.
right. I agree.
Here's something. The only thing I might propose is, if you have an upcoming meeting where you could, this, we kind of just toss this out there at you right now, so it sounds like
Invite
that has, yeah, well, exactly, so there might be an opportunity to put that, agenda this as an item, where you could
Right.
discuss it, just reach out to us so that hopefully one of us or a couple of us could attend,
Yes,
just to,
good.
to maybe give some thoughts and ideas, and, we won't be deliberating about it, but we'll just be in the room so that,
Right.
you know,
I don't feel that we should just sit down and set these, this is what we're going to do, and blah, blah, this and that, and then have it turn around and punch us in the nose in a month or two, because we didn't do it right. We need to get together and everyone be in agreement, really.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely want to do it collaboratively, and, it's not something that's prescriptive, and this has to
Right.
happen. We wanted to work with you all, and, kind of, the cemetery commission in many communities is under the supervision of another, whether it's the highway or DPW or a
Right.
different organization. And the commissioners are more responsible for the business side of the cemetery, and maintaining the solemnity, and, you have a mission statement, but, so we wanted to at least start the conversation and see if there's some opportunities for us to just improve
Good.
town government as a whole. So, I think it's relative to the memorandum of understanding, you have voted on it and signed it, so our action relative to the MOA is to deliberate about that and see if we want to move forward with that.
I just have one other
Sure.
question. How are you making out on filling your position?
I think it was just posted.
It was posted.
Oh,
last
just
week.
posted? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Okay. If you need assistance with that, or let us know, we'll be, sure Bonnie or. the
Bonnie's
folks-
been very
Yeah,
helpful.
yeah, Bonnie and Ann have been.
Gloria's been doing a great job
Yeah.
Thank you,
managing.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome. But she really has, holding that all together. and-
Great,
So things are going smoothly.
nice,
Good.
nice. Mr. Badger retired, I saw.
Yes.
Yes,
So-
yes, they did.
That's a big change.
After 30 years.
That's a big change for the town.
You're still working today, though.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's a bigger change for him, though.
yeah, it is.
Sure.
Yeah. Just a new beginning.
Right. As a retiree, I find it quite enjoyable.
I can't wait. That's all I have.
All right. Do you have any other questions or thoughts for us? Is there anything that we can do to help you guys out, or?
What about the crematorium?
Talk to Joe.
How long did we spend in that? Over a year.
We spent over a year.
Couple of years, yeah.
You did one heck of a job and learned a lot, but didn't go through.
You ready? I think
Okay, thank you.
We're good? Thank you very
Okay,
much for coming out.
thank you.
Appreciate the time.
No problem.
So we want to make
We're
a
gonna,
motion?
the board's gonna vote on it.
I think I don't want to, further discussion to you.
All right. I'll move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 41, subsection 23A, to execute a memorandum of agreement with the Cemetery Commissioners relative to the supervision of the full-time salaried position cemetery superintendent by the town administrator or his designee.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous?
And we'll look forward to coming to help you out with the implementation of it, and if you need any of our support or anything like that, so
Reach out, please.
let Keith know, and I'm sure one of us or two of us will show up to your meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioners, thank you, Lori.
How was sales? How was sales?
Actually, we have $16,000 sale coming up if we want to
Yes.
put some money into.
Nice.
Special 2-for-1 sale.
Yeah, special on Tuesday.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you, thank you.
very
Good night,
much.
thank you very much. Just remind me, I have one little thing on their management summary, just a typo.
Okay,
All right.
we're looking at tabling.
Well, what do you guys think, the TIF pilot discussion? I know that Mr. Glavy certainly wanted to be part of it. Melissa wanted to be here but couldn't be here, but, you know, she was willing for us to move forward if all four of us.
I mean, we may or may not be getting an application in the future. I don't know. I
Right.
can't say with certainty. But it was a year and a half ago that the board adopted a policy that said you should have such a committee. And just looking at the language, it says that if, it doesn't specify who's on the committee. So I think that's worth some consideration. You know, EDC, Selectmen, FinCom, assessors, Light and Water has been on in the past, as well as some of the management team, the treasurer and finance director and myself, among others. But whoever it is, I think ought to, at some point, you need to determine that. And the other, perhaps more urgent part is, they are to, that committee is to negotiate based on goals, objectives, and priorities established by the Board of Selectmen, which sort of would beg the question of what are those? Because there was a draft policy that was worked on about a year ago. The Financial Policies Working Group took a stab at a first draft of theirs, but we haven't brought it to a conclusion yet. And so it's something we might want to think about.
If I may. Based on that too, I mean, I remember working on that with the working group. We need to reconvene. It was evident last time at our last meeting in regards to some of the budgeting and borrowing issues that we had in regards to the policy working group. So this is another item we can put on that working group and kind of rehash that policy again.
Yeah.
Maybe even ask the group to say, hey, what's the makeup of that group, and then come and do a presentation to
Yeah.
the entire board, so we can deliberate about not only the policy, but what the working group's gonna look like. So, I'd be in favor of just tabling it, let's get it to the working group.
Will it have any effect if that, when one company comes in and,
Well, if we get something in the meantime, I think we're gonna have to decide
Do a special.
Yeah.
how we operate.
we could have a special meeting?
Yeah, we could have a special, yeah, I think we need to have, depending upon timing, but,
Yeah.
We'll work through it before, Joe, so I don't see an issue. I think it's more on the front burner, so to speak, right now. I think that if something does cross our desk, I think, it'll be a good, let's get the working group involved, let's get FinCom and for the trial run. There is a draft anyways.
I have no trouble with tabling it either, but I just didn't want to make sure this didn't throw us behind.
no, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, the only thing that I was hoping to discuss, and no problem with tabling it either, is just when we introduce this, I mean, after somebody passes the test to qualify, when do we introduce this to them, and who delivers you know, who delivers that message to them. So who delivers,
And do we have
makes that
to,
offer in that negotiation.
if I may, and do we have to deliver it if they don't ask for it? That's all.
That's certainly, you know, you want to keep your cards as close as possible. If we're able to get the business to come into town without having to give something up, I'd rather not.
All good points that I think should be deliberated and put
Yeah,
into the
right.
policy,
Agreed.
absolutely.
So we're okay with tabling that for tonight?
Bonnie, do you know if the financial policies working group has been, or Fred has
Not yet.
mentioned when
This-
convening?
the Finance committee meets again
Tomorrow?
next Tuesday.
Oh, I thought it was tomorrow, no.
Next
A week from tomorrow.
That's when it'll,
And actually, FinCom meets for the next 2 Tuesdays, because we have a joint meeting on the 18th.
Right.
Tuesday, the 18th, another budget summit type meeting with them on a Tuesday night. Okay, all right.
Okay. So, let's go on to, so we're on item 4. So, public input. Anybody have anything to offer? Public input? Okay. So, member updates. Gentlemen?
Most stuff this week?
All right, I got a couple. Been working with Keith, I know we've brought this up previously too. Working with Mass Dot to set up a meeting with the town on the paving of 2A and 110 to try and get the complete streets implementation. We've actually got a response from Mass Dot. Been playing telephone tag with our contact. He's the municipalities coordinator, is that what his title was?
Yes.
Municipalities coordinator, so as soon as I get that, we'll get Jimmy and Keith and myself and sit down and see what we can do about implementing some type of complete streets to get, because they're going from Westford all the way to 495 and then Acton to Groton or to 119, 119. So we'll work on that, but, you know, more important is what can we get out of the state to make that common area a little bit more pedestrian friendly,
Right.
you know? Maybe some curb cuts on the common area. Folks in wheelchairs can't get up in there for the Memorial Day, for the Veterans Memorial area. So we'll be working very close with that. Hopefully, we can get something tied up in a meeting going within the next week or two, and we can have something to report back to us.
And the issue, if I could, the issue that we're having here, which is the state's proposing to resurface numbered state highways that they own, that a town doesn't own. And so the question is, how do you get complete streets improvements out of the state roads? Because we had submitted a grant application under complete streets for town roads, and in our prioritization plan, we had even gone through, our consultant had gone through, well, what do we need on King Street and Great Road? And we were directed by MassDOT to take those out of our plan because they're state roads. So at a statewide transportation conference last Thursday, there were a lot of Mass DOT folks there, and in a room full of folks at a session on complete streets, I posed the question that it was not uncommon, the situation was not uncommon, if you will, for a numbered state highway to be going through a downtown area. And did MassDOT have a policy of how they would engage with an individual community about what the needs were? Some of the answers weren't great. One of the answers was, well, if it's state-owned, you can put it in a TIP. So the Transportation Improvement Plan. So you wait 10 years for a sidewalk or crosswalk, not a good answer. The other answer was, well, if some of the numbered state highways are actually discontinued and are controlled by the town, to which I said, also not a good answer, because that would then, that would incur additional costs for us, for the town to upkeep the roads, when all we want is pedestrian improvements and things that make sense. So they recognized that was an issue that was not unique to us, that they had some policy concerns that they needed to address, but that the right way to do it is, which is what we're doing, is contacting Mass DOT and work one-on-one to try to come up with a solution. But we're not the only ones who will be asking.
So, in that too, you know, I was thinking, and I just happened to be going through here The Willow temporary lights are up, and I think that's a success story that we worked with Mass Dot, and hopefully we can bring that result into our common too, so to try and make those improvements.
Springboard off of it.
You know, the lights seem to be working fine. Joe, you use them every day,
Every day.
and they
You
seem
have to pull out and pray.
Yeah, so I mean, and you know, the temporary lights, I mean, they're gonna redesign that whole area, that whole intersection, so.
And they've already started to, they closed off the Crossroads driveway.
Right.
Done quite a bit already.
Yeah, so I mean, hopefully we can get the results. I mean, the town's been recognized for its Complete Streets program nationally and through the state, the Baker Polito administration, so hopefully that little bit of a push will help.
Not to get off your topic too, but I don't know who was responsible for it, whether the chief did it, but it was nice to see the King Street got lined over the 495 bridge, so you can tell which lanes you're supposed to be in.
I'd love to take credit. I pushed, and they did it on their own timeline anyways.
Oh, you should have taken credit for it.
Yeah. And the last thing, the blue ribbons around town, the ceremony, that was held last Sunday?
Last Thursday night.
Last Thursday.
Last Thursday. It's a great thing to see.
Absolutely.
That's all I have.
All right, Castle Trees came in tonight, and I think that was, our legislators came out, and they were instrumental in getting us some funds for that, and I think it was great that they recognized the folks that really put their blood, sweat, tears, hearts, pretty much everything into it, and it's a great community success. So thank you to all those that stepped up and to our legislators for recognizing those that did. So there is an alumni field meeting tomorrow evening. The athletic director will be doing a presentation, identifying what he feels the needs are. Give a historic presentation, and I'll look forward and I'll incorporate what his thoughts and views as one of the primary stakeholders and beneficiaries of the renovation. So that is tomorrow night at 7:30 at the police station, so October 4th, 7:30 at the police station. So those of you that have not been able to get out, please come out and share your thoughts, ideas, and views. Let's see, all right, so that is member updates. So goal. Yes, Chief.
If I could just say something to Mr. Carr's statement about the complete streets.
Yes, sir.
It actually came the other day when I was riding up Newer State Road. It's also good when we're doing these roads too, to look and see if the sidewalk actually, you know, does something. And when I had advocated for the sidewalk on Newer State Road, along with the town, also realized that's actually the only safe way now to actually walk from King Street or anywhere else to get to the corporate field area. If you can think about it, it used to end basically at the the King Street Air Road, and then you had no way to get there other than walk on a roadway. And also too, again, the steps the town's taken to get the Russell Street, circle connected, not only for the point, but also makes a big, the whole common be able to be a big circle. And the other side of Great Road up by the Donlands block is very much needed. Everyone says, how come we don't have any crosswalks? Because you can't have crosswalks to nowhere. In the current place, we have crosswalks, there's crosswalks up by the Toyota dealership, because he built, we made him build sidewalk in front of his building. So that whole stretch realistically from the common up needs sidewalk on the other side of the street also.
Yeah, I think
So
that's,
something else too, I think with the planning board, may be able to leverage some of these other groups if they ever start their buildings.
yeah, I think that's gonna be part of our discussion, absolutely, Chief, with Mass Dot, and, to try and make that connection from Donalds, actually from Church Meadows, and that new development on the Cooper property, right through up to the common.
That would be
So
great.
we'll definitely have that discussion with them also.
Also, just the T parking, again, is at overflow every day again. 25 to 30 cars, and every space was full today, and they were parked in the craziest places I've ever seen them.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Last week sometime, I just happened to come up Foster Street for some reason, and it was last week that I saw the same thing.
parked on hills, parked.
Unbelievable. Are they getting ticketed, or what goes on with them? Is that MBTA's?
Well, I'm gonna sit down and talk to Jimmy, because obviously he can't be allowed in the winter, because he'd have no place there's no place for the snow to go
Yeah.
at that point, but, you know, that lot is made, Chief Wazinski and I were talking, some of those areas of the lot have even made so tight that there's no way he's swinging a fire truck or the ambulance up in there anymore. Even, it's tough, but, you know,
Have we reached out to MBTA police, or anything?
yeah, I will, I actually talked to, the deputy chief the other day about it.
Okay.
I think they're gonna ask us to take fine.
Yeah, if there's a reciprocal agreement that extended to you.
They just need to say, you know, we're not sending a
It's all
car
your-
up,
yeah.
please take care of it for us, and,
Yeah,
so.
very good. Actually,
Thank you.
No, thank you, appreciate it, it's good input. The charrette for the common area did happen last Friday and Saturday, and unfortunately I was out of town most of the weekend, but wasn't able to attend, but I'd love to be able to get some input back, and we can invite Mr. Avella to give us an update on that. Or if there was someone else that was responsible for that, if Paul were here, I'm sure he could give us an update. But the whole purpose of the charrette this past weekend was focused on the common area, and I know that there are some, Northern Bank and Trust, I've reached out to Mr. Mon, the owner of Northern Bank and Trust, a number of times to try to have a cup of coffee with him to say, what are your thoughts, what are your plans, and, we can extend sidewalks if they're gonna be building something from their existing bank all the way down to the corner of Robinson Road. Would like to try to have some say in what they end up doing there, so, it's just something we have to keep it top of mind. We need to keep being diligent and keep beating the drum, but thanks for that. As far as goal updates, Jim, you mentioned some of what you're doing. Mr. Glegg and I are working on the sewer, Littleton Smart Sewer program. I don't really have anything to update since our last update, so probably table that till next time. Have any other updates relative to our goals? Okay. All right, so a little ahead of schedule here. If Melissa's streaming this in California, I just wanted to make note that we're about 11 minutes ahead of schedule.
With any luck, you'll be a lot more ahead of schedule.
All right, so
If he keeps going.
item 5 on our agenda is relative to our special town meeting. And 5A is finalize the warrant articles, order of the articles, and direct postings. So Keith, if you want to...
Yes, the order that there's a total of 17 articles that were submitted in the warrant. 15 of them you had voted to insert, and then we had 2 citizens petitions that were received by the deadline, and the town clerk did certify that each had at least 100 valid signatures on them. So those are on the warrant. And next comes our task tonight is to be able to post the warrant tomorrow, directed to the constable for posting. And prior to that, the board takes a last look at the order in which the articles appear, so that they will appear in that order in the warrant as posted. So the policy in recent years has been to put financial articles first, followed by articles requiring supermajority votes, and finally, all other articles, including routine authorizations or reauthorizations. Those were the 3 categories recommended by the study committee to increase voter participation. We've been following that recommendation fairly closely for the last several town meetings. The order in which the articles appear tonight are, at least for the first 15, are the order in which you've seen them in all of the draft warrants that and as printed on the screen here. And then since the 2 voter petitions would fall into the 3rd category of other, I put them at the end. You are free to have any of the articles appear in different orders, but this is just based on the policy. This would be my recommendation.
So this coincides with what we've got in our packet.
Yes.
So we may have to get like a 70-inch screen so that it's bigger for you guys to see. You don't have to look through my glaring forehead. Maybe we can just display it on my forehead.
It's better than a blank screen, I know, so,
Yeah, perfect.
but we'll get better. Yeah.
Creep, crawl, walk, run, right?
So, I mean, the Articles 1 through 5 are really, is there gonna be a debt stabilization?
Yeah, it's number 4.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
Maybe we can make the fire station like number 18.
What'd you say?
Keep the crowd there, yeah.
Number 20? Is that what you said?
Just kidding, chief.
Make sure we maintain the quorum.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no quorum.
Let's see.
I don't see any issues.
No. Joe, do you have any thoughts or
No, the order that they're in seemed fine to me.
in the current order's good? Seems good?
Yep.
We're gonna change something up so we can keep on this game a little bit, you know?
On Article 8, what's it actually mean that we're rescinding unused borrowing authorization?
So Article 8 is rescinding the borrowing that we authorized for the Church Meadow acquisition. We never actually placed that debt. What we did is a short-term 5-year note, and we paid it off. So we're never going to place that debt permanently, so we can rescind it.
Okay.
Right. So the project was undertaken, the money was spent, it's just that we didn't borrow it, and we would like to remove it from
We've already-
the list, from our books of borrowed money.
One less thing in the book.
Right. And we borrowed it at, I think, under 1% almost every year, so.
That's, you know, the cost of money is that cheap, it's the way to go, right?
You ready?
I think I'm good, Joe. You good?
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the order of which the articles appear on the November 16, 2016 special town meeting warrant with financial articles first, those requiring supermajority votes next, followed by all other, including authorizations and reauthorizations, and to direct the constable to post said warrant forthwith.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
And we have the warrant with us tonight for you to, we'll take the 3 signatures from board members here tonight, and we'll give the warrant to the clerk, who will hand it to the chief.
Okay, good. So the next item we have is 5B, which is, well, so you have presented the draft of the town meeting report.
Yeah, I've got a first draft document, which and it is a draft, but I wanted to give it a shot to show what information we have pulled together that we can put. I think since on the land articles in particular, it would be helpful to show where they are, and so we can include maps, whether it's where's the property that the water commissioners are gonna purchase, or where are the properties on Boxborough Road, or where are the tax title properties. We can include some summary plan information for the fire station and for Alumni Field. So I think that's an opportunity, and we've got a first draft on article explanations, but we'll be fine tuning them over the next week or so. And you can.
Motions for us to approve the articles as written?
So if we were going to adopt any recommendations this evening, I think the motion is relative to that, is it not?
Yeah, if you wanted to, if you wanted to vote to recommend articles tonight, you could do that. You can do it tonight. You also, there's maybe 2 other times that we've been talking about, the next regular meeting 2 weeks from tonight on the 17th. And you may also want to schedule a meeting, say on the, right, after the 25th, on
In
either the
between,
26th or
between.
27th maybe,
Yeah.
to finalize the big ticket items, because I think it would be important to see what's the number from the fire station, what's the last information we have on Alumni Field, where are we with the negotiations on the Joyce Williams property. Those, I think, are probably the three ones that we'll be working on right up until the end.
So has the finance committee made any recommendations on these yet?
Nope.
No,
So-
next Tuesday.
Yeah, I'd say, I'd make the suggestion, let's wait for them to make their recommendations.
As
and-
the advisory
And
board to
then we,
Selectmen.
yeah, and then we can have a full board, make deliberations and.
Have discussion.
Sure, yeah,
Have-
that's,
have-
yeah, that's fine, yeah, I wanted to, I mean, what I wanted to make sure is that you saw what our first
Gotcha.
draft was on the
Gotcha.
information that will go out to the voters, and we've circulated that to all the departments. Sent it to you got it on Friday, FinCom got it, and some of the other boards did as well, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
So we'll hold off on.
Yep, so we can do that
any
next
motion
time.
at this point. Erica.
Erica Padworny, Fox Lane. I was just wondering when the decision would be made about the funding mechanisms for some of these and whether or not they're going to go to a ballot and how, how it's working, where the money's coming from.
I think that the statement that, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the statement you just made is, we have a couple more meetings ahead of us, we've got FinCom input that's coming to us. I mean, the decision needs to be made by the 27th, correct? Well,
Well, yes and no. With respect to the funding mechanism, if anyone's thinking of a ballot question, they better say so soon, because it's already too late to have a ballot, an election in November. That time, is our meeting,
This has been discussed before
Yeah.
too. I mean, there's there are funding mechanisms in place for,
before us.
there's what, 3 articles, right? The land, alumni, and the fire station. So there's already mechanisms in place for that. I can't remember all 3, but I'll give it a shot. The fire station, the big one, is within the levy limit, and based on debt coming off, will be rolled into a schedule for the borrowing, starting at fiscal year 2020. Alumni, the proposal is for the stabilization. Capital stabilization to fund alumni. And the third for the land is CPC and the land grant. Is that correct? Well, we put the application in for the land
yeah,
grant.
right, and on the Joyce Williams property, we'd be,
Is Williams in here? I didn't think Williams was in here yet.
it's, we haven't agreed on, we haven't finalized.
It's not
on it.
finalized.
We haven't
yet,
finalized the
but
number.
there was a double.
We know what we can afford, I'm thinking of a number, and it's the number that Bonnie gave us. And that's the sort of do not exceed, and if we're able to negotiate an agreement on Joyce Williams, we'll be bringing it forward. If we're not able to negotiate an agreement, we're not gonna bring it forward.
So that's in the negotiation
Yeah.
form at this point.
But,
We're not
but,
done
the-
with it.
but
There is
the,
the Boxborough, the other smaller piece.
yeah, the 200,000 Boxborough, the Mass DOT surplus property is proposed to be community preservation funds. Community Preservation Committee has approved the eligibility requests for both of the Boxborough properties, but they have not approved a funding request for either of them. I said just, for right now, it's appropriate to get eligibility, and when we have something, we will take it to the next step for a funding application.
Yep.
But they're poised to be able to act on that, and in the case of the Williams property, the motion, the article for town meeting is to be contingent on getting a $400,000 land grant. So if we don't get the grant, we don't go forward based on that vote, that we would, regroup and come back to a future town meeting. So at this point, based on the direction from the board, we're not planning for
No need.
for a debt exclusion ballot question.
Can I just follow up one thing? So in the capital stabilization fund, we put 2.5 million into that, correct? So if alumni comes in above that, what happens?
Well, it's 2.9 in the capitalization fund, but if it comes over that, then I think that we I think we ideally want to come up with a project that fits the amount of money we have, but.
There's none in the bucket that's been identified.
That's not to say we can't do short-term borrowing, to ask the town if that's the way the town wants to go.
Good point.
And then there's also the $400,000 that have available, that we have on the table for
For
spending.
the undesignated, what's that, the,
Overlay surplus.
Overlay.
oh yeah, the overlay.
So, I mean, ultimately, it comes down, and because we haven't plugged numbers into the capital,
Right.
to the capital projects,
We just don't
two
know at this point.
the three studies that are there. And so to the question of what do you do if another project comes in higher than you thought, then another option is to look at using those funds on that other project and come back to those capital projects at a later date.
I mean-
That's how you do it, right? To balance your budget. But at some point, we run out of money,
Yes, we do.
so,
Thank you.
okay.
All right.
Fire chief.
I know it's not 8 o'clock, but are you ready?
I'm good.
Item 6 on the agenda is the fire chief. And I'm going to discuss paramedic program. I've got one, thank you.
No, but
Thank you. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. So tonight, I'd like to,
The bottom one advances,
Gotcha.
the next one.
get it back, all right. Tonight, I'd like to just talk about a kind of a situation that we're in regards to our current ALS status. ALS is basically the paramedic service that comes from Emerson Hospital that currently supports the town.
Advanced life support.
Correct, advanced life support. Currently, we run a BLS system, which is a basic life support. We all have basic EMTs on our department, of which all the staff is currently certified at that level. So a few of the issues currently, Acton has just recently voted to go to the ALS level as well. The proposal was to go to the medic status as of next July. Currently, our service provider, Professional Ambulance, is based out of Cambridge, but they run out of Emerson Hospital, and they have two units. One of them is currently based on Maple Street in South Acton, and the other one's based out of Lincoln. Since Acton has made the notification that they're going to go medic, Pro has not redone their lease for the Acton base. Therefore, they're going to be pulling out of Acton, and they will be responding from Lincoln. We've already been seeing more and more of that, and that response time is increasing. A few of the other issues that we have with the ALS service right now is the ability to really keep track of the costs. Right now, they provide all of our software, they provide our training, records retention, they do our billing. And they collect a portion of the service, and it's really unclear exactly what they are charging us for all of those services. And then, again, inconsistent response times and their availability. So when they're responding from Tracy's Corner or Crosby's Corner during rush hour, we have 15-minute responses, and on many occasions we'll cancel them because it's not worth waiting for them to come along, especially if we go to another facility, or if we can get an additional service from, say, Westford or Air, because they're currently the ALS.
can we ask, yeah, go ahead. Can we ask questions?
Absolutely.
Or do you want to go through it first?
No, you can ask. Go ahead.
One quick question, Jim, I'm sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
Acton is changing, so that second vehicle is being taken out?
Correct. So they would no longer have one of their units housed in Acton. They'll just be based in Lincoln.
Okay. Can you tell us what our surrounding towns do?
Currently, Westford and Air are both of paramedic status. Westford, I think, went about 5 years ago, Air a little bit longer. Very successful programs. They've noticed their revenue stream increasing. Westford, since they went medic, they added 8 originally. They're adding another 8 next year. So they
Cost neutral to the town?
as a matter of fact, yes. We had that discussion just last Friday, and they said they're at a point where they've increased so drastically that they're finally at a balance there, with the revenues coming in. Acton will be going medic. As far as other communities around us, Harvard, Boxborough is still BLS. And then Acton is, like I said, going forward next July.
Are Harvard and Boxborough serviced by Pro?
Boxborough is. Harvard is serviced by Air or, drawing a blank. No, it's another ALS-based service out of Leominster Hospital.
So, can I ask a question now, too? When you say you call off ALS, what does that do to the patient? I know ALS is, IVs and all that type of stuff. How does that impact your service?
Typically, when we're en route to a facility, it's going to have an increased amount of time. The reason that we would cancel them is either that we've determined that we don't need them, or we can actually arrive at the hospital prior to them coming and offering assistance.
Gotcha.
So it's a time thing.
Okay. What about Groton?
Groton is also BLS. Their service comes out of Townsend.
Okay.
Or they also utilize Westford and Air when their main service isn't available as well. Westford and Air are also our backups as well. And one of the other issues is that Littleton doesn't really have the oversight of that billing system that's in place. We're all part of it as the whole district. There's the 7 towns. But as far as our own input, we can't really necessarily account for every single dollar that's in there. There's a lot of gray.
And I know we have talked in the past, the 7 towns with Acton dropping out, it'll come down to 6.
Correct.
And we're the furthest west out of all. Correct? Exactly.
We're basically being put on an island.
Right. Okay.
As far as that service being provided, they're going to be traveling from a little bit more further of a distance, and through communities that they wouldn't be utilized. I would assume they would still be used as a backup, but not the primary.
Was the ALS ambulance that was in Acton, was that an additional piece of equipment, or is it that they're now doing away with?
That's it's the paramedic unit, and they haven't said that they're going to be eliminating it and going down to 1 truck, but just that they would be based out of Lincoln, and Acton and Concord are the 2 largest providers for the ALS service, are the largest users. So by eliminating half of that volume, that would be a pretty substantial hit for their service.
Concord uses Pro as well?
They do, yes. Yep.
And it wouldn't make sense to them for us to offer to host it in a facility in Littleton, because all of their calls are
East.
Exactly.
way far away from
The
us.
other day, we had,
Doesn't make
they
sense
signed
to
on
them.
the air responding from Weston. That's a significant response from Weston, and by the time we hit the Rotary, they hadn't even passed Emerson Hospital yet, so they were canceled. As you can see on this slide, this show currently shows the differences in requirements for basic life support and advanced life support. The hours of training, 140 versus 1,200. things that the ALS level could do. Advanced airway, drug management, they can put on the cardiac monitor, deliver a variety of different medications. And basically, they have the ability, right now, we're on scene in roughly 3 minutes, that's our average. We would have that ability to start to administer that advanced level of care right away and make the appropriate decisions as far as a facility to transport them to and administer medications if needed. So that's a substantial difference. Instead of meeting a unit currently halfway to the hospital, pulling over on the side of the road, waiting another 10 minutes for them to reanalyze somebody. And on many cases, determine that we need to go to a different facility and change the direction that we're already heading. So it just increases times.
Yeah.
Exactly. Here you can see between 2014 and 16, the increase in our overall EMS calls. This isn't fire calls, this is strictly EMS calls. So the last fiscal year, we had 1,053 medical emergencies, of which 594 times ALS was requested, and on many occasions, either canceled or not utilized simply because of response or the time in arriving. On many occasions, they'll even arrive halfway to the hospital and board the truck and do nothing but monitor them and watch, not necessarily put on a monitor or administer any medications, but then at that point, they would bill for an ALS service, and we don't get any of that revenue. That goes right to them, yet they only rode along to observe. So that's frustrating. Here you can see our response times. Our response times versus ALS. We're in the red. Our average is 3 minutes. There are some longer lines up there, and that's where we have back-to-back medicals, and we rely on the call department to come back and staff that second ambulance. That is also an increasing challenge, is to get the members to come back to staff that second ambulance with the changing times. And as you can see with ALS, their responses range anywhere from 10, some of them are up even over 20 minutes. So some of the challenges that we have within our department with our current shifts, we have shifts of 2, 4 shifts of 2 around the clock. And during the day, myself and the deputy come in, and our fire prevention officer and our swingman. So we have a little increased staffing during the day, and it's lighter at night and lighter on the weekends. And we lack an officer on those shifts to make sometimes urgent decisions and have the additional responsibility. We also have the unpredictable of staffing levels on the off hours, calling back from the call department. Currently, our back-to-back calls, last year, we had 252, which is 15% of our calls were back-to-back calls. Either a medical while we're at a medical, or a medical while we're at a fire run, things of that nature. Out of that, only 11% of the call department is actually coming back for calls. On many occasions, right now, there are only 22 members on the call department. Of that, there's actually about 8 that are active. This is our trends. The yellow is the overall trends, fire and EMS. You can see below that. The blue being the EMS and the red with the fire runs. We say, yes, we're a fire department. Really, fires are a minimal portion of what we do. We're an emergency services department. We offer a variety of services, with the majority being EMS. Car crashes, hazmats, things of that nature. So what I'm proposing is to enhance our current service. Go from that BLS to the ALS level. That's the Advanced Life Support Paramedic level. We would basically reorganize our department, take our fire prevention person right now, and shift that responsibility to the deputy chief. So the deputy would be deputy and the fire prevention officer. We would take that current position and the swingman and put them to shift. On top of that, we would look to hire 6 paramedics. This gives us 2 on each group, two paramedics on 2 shifts and 1 paramedic on 2 shifts. It basically would give us 4 shifts of 4, around the clock, 24/7, 365. That brings us up to meet the National Fire Protection Agency's safety standard of 1710. That's, that's the major safety standard as far as any career department in safety, if you were to arrive on a fire and go to work, you have 2 in and you have two members out. That's their backup team. Currently, we're meeting that by having myself and the deputy chief arrive from home in our vehicles. So right now, we rely on those first 2 guys holding the fort down until we get there. So the other thing that it would do is allow us to operate both ambulances at night and get them both out the door. Have an engine arrive on scene and back those first 2 guys up in an ambulance on a crash on the highway. Right now, the deputy or myself, one of us has to make sure we go by the station at night to make sure the engine's getting out the door. Or we have to take the engine ourselves with maybe one other. And that's happened on several occasions.
Just a quick comment. Does that NFPA standard being at 1710 improve our homeowners insurance rates?
Absolutely, it does. It does kick into that with our ISO rating.
Sorry.
Nope, valid point. And the major thing that we would look to do is hire a private billing company. Now that we would have the whole operation in-house, we can we can retain our own records, conduct our own training in-house, have our private billing company, yet be it an aggressive billing company. There's a company out there right now that has claims of 92 to 94% collection rates. Currently, right now with Pro, we're in the 65% range, roughly, as far as collections. They're not an aggressive company, and there are a lot of dollars that are going out the window that we could be bringing in, and we would look to do that with a private billing company. This is our current flow chart for the department right now. The left side in the red is the call department, and on the right side, myself, the deputy, fire prevention, and the swingman. That swingman is currently our person to help us save some funds. So the first person that's out, the swingman takes that void, so we can have a little cost savings and not have to fill every shift with overtime. And then we have the 2 firefighters that go around the clock on each shift right now. The proposed shift, there would be a promotion on every shift. So there would be a lieutenant, so that we have rank on each shift, and then we would have the additional 3. Like I said, on 2 of the groups, there would be 2 medics, and on the other 2, it would be an additional basic EMT with a medic on each. With this model, we would also have the ability to kind of utilize the deputy and myself as the buffer during the day. So we could actually run down and save some overtime by having us fill those vacancies.
Question for you.
Yes.
If you hide the medic, would that medic also be a firefighter?
Correct. Yes, it would. Yep, they would. What we're thinking right now is that we would focus on hiring the paramedics, and we would send them all to the fire academy together as one group. When they all return, we could implement the program all right at the same time. Typically when the program started, you need to be all in. You can't have it just operate on certain days.
What about existing members that want to become paramedics?
Right now, there hasn't been any interest in that. However, with the paramedic program, they could put in for it. They can go get the education. It takes roughly a year. And then they need to have some experience. So we couldn't basically, honestly, we couldn't start a paramedic service with a bunch of fresh paramedics. They do need a level of experience to come in and start a service. They'll actually do a preceptorship between us and Emerson Hospital, and once that's approved, then they'll have the green light to go, and we can start the service.
So would it eventually, are you going to be a paramedic department?
Correct. Yes.
So the folks that are your members now that are firefighters will have to get their paramedics license?
No, because of the level, the run volume that we do. Right now, We would be able to do, it's a ALS, BLS. It's a, sometimes they'd call it a waiver, but a PB waiver. But for the run volume that we do, we wouldn't be required to have a PB waiver. We could run with a medic and a basic on every truck. That way, depending on the type of incident it is, the basic could take it or the medic could take it. So there will always be a need for the basic medics. We will not be replacing all of the current EMTs with paramedics, but we will enhance the program with paramedics.
So you get a vacancy where a firefighter leaves, you're gonna fill that with a firefighter or a paramedic?
Paramedic. So it'd be similar to what Westford's doing. Westford currently has 2 paramedics for every shift. They're looking to actually staff a 3rd ambulance, and so they have 2 paramedics for each station, for each ambulance. And since they have met that, their next batch, they're saying is that they will be hiring a BLS. So once you get to a level of comfort, then you can kind of buffer in between. So it's something that would evaluate, obviously, as we went forward. Some of the benefits, obviously, reduced time. We can arrive on scene within that 3 minutes, administer this, critical care. We'll be able to analyze a patient and determine their needs, offer them a 12-lead EKG, medications, things of that nature, and then determine the appropriate facility within minutes and be en route there, saving valuable time. There's a cost offset. We would be bringing in a higher level of service. Currently, we offset the budget by roughly $300,000 a year. By bringing in the whole billing component for the basic and the advanced life support portion, we would bring all of that revenue into us. One of the other options with this, on top of the baseline, is the ability to apply for the SAFER grant. The SAFER grant would enhance this, allowing us to, if we were lucky enough to obtain it, these funds would pay for the 6 members for their salary and their benefits 100% for 2 years. And then at that point, the town owns it. So I'll touch just on this real quick. Capital costs, going through the whole thing, $209,000. This gives us the ability to outfit both ambulances with the additional equipment, EKGs, drugs, heating and refrigeration equipment for the medications, software updates, academy training, and we also included the EMD training in there for dispatch. And talking to Chief King, that would actually be covered by the E911 grant on a yearly basis. That would be able to fund that and not come out of our costs. So if you want, now in your packets, you guys actually have the numbers. It's a little bit too small to put up on the screen, but
Spreadsheet.
yep. So there's 2 sheets and a single yellow line and one with 2 yellow lines on the bottom. All right, it may be a little bit tiny.
No, small.
Maybe it's done for a reason that way. No. The one with the single yellow line on the bottom, that actually shows the revenues that come in. All right, currently when the ambulance revenues that come in, they're kept in an account. By statute, they're held in like a rotating revolving fund per se. And it offsets our budget on a yearly basis. Currently, we use $300,000. The additional funds stay in that account and they grow slightly each year. By going to the ALS service, we are increasing the revenues in those accounts, bringing it in, and the bottom line, basically, it pays for these 6 individuals. The revenues increase slightly each year, and that pot of money remains in that account. We can actually draw some off of that pot of money to offset the difference for hiring the 6 medics each year and bringing it out through 2021. It's still, there's an offset where this program is paying for those individuals. If you go to the other page, it just implements the grant on the bottom. So that would be 2 years at 100%, salary and benefits, includes all fringe. And then there's 2 years where 100% of the revenue coming in can help offset the budget. It can grow in those accounts, drag it out for even further. There are things that aren't accounted for in here, and that's mutual aid. Us supplying the ALS service to surrounding communities that don't have it, or being back up to Air or Westford. There's a different tier of advanced life support for the traumas, for heart attacks or strokes. When you're administering multiple medications, it brings you up to a different tier, which is a higher billing rate. And some of that stuff is not accounted for in these figures. We're trying to be conservative. And bottom line, the one with the single yellow line, it shows that we can run this program and hire the 6 paramedics and have this based off of a revenue-based system and have it be cost neutral for the town, and to supply a much better service to the residents. And
Self-sustaining.
absolutely. The one cost that we did include in there is the yearly increase, the percentage of raises. As they move to steps, the town, that would be funded by the town. But it does have the ability to, again, watch those, the pot of cash as it, the revenue would offset that in the budget.
Well, this would increase your manpower by 6.
Correct. So that would allow us to have 4 shifts of 4. It'd be the deputy and I then come in to augment that during the day, and there's no additional, but it's those 4 that are running around the clock. So we could have, if there was a fire at night, there's a full truck going out the door. We'd look, like I said, we'd look to offset that during the day if there was somebody out, but the goal would be to always run full at night, so that they're going out, meeting that NFPA 1710, the safety standard. They're going out with a full truck. They can arrive on scene and go to work, and we'll be backing them up. Still relying on the call department. We're not looking to replace the call department, but we need to deal with the issue right now that the lack of response. So we need a solid hit coming right out of the gate with us backing them up. And this opportunity for doing the whole department reorganization, this makes sense. And having the self-funding, the timing couldn't be better to do the whole reorganization and reformat the department and how we respond and how we provide the service to the town.
4 shifts of 4, is those 8-hour shifts?
24-hour shifts.
So
We
that
come in at
one-
7 in the morning and they go home at 7 o'clock the next morning.
So if I had shift A, would I have 2 days in a row with that?
No, right now, you would come in for your 24 hours, you have 2 days off, you work 24 hours, then you have 4 days off.
So Chief, you're saying that in fiscal year 18, it's a $501,535.65 increase to your budget.
Correct.
And you're projecting that a total revenue from this is $775,000.
That's correct.
And where are you getting those projections from?
These numbers are based off of the last several years of actual revenues coming in, including the revenues that we're able to obtain from ALS for what they claim that they made. The numbers that are unknown are clearly what they're charging us for software, training, records
So
retention.
is this a conservative number, or?
It is.
Okay.
It does have that potential. We also ran these numbers through the billing company using last year's actual records, and they thought that these numbers, or that PRO's numbers were also significantly lower than they should be.
Bonnie?
On the, those numbers that you quoted, you can see that the projected balance ending this fiscal year is going to be $763,000. We generally use $300,000 to offset the budget. So instead, in fiscal 18, if there is no SAFER grant awarded, the proposal is to use $775,000. We'll be getting 629 in projected revenue, and again, that's from consulting with Coastal and the timing of the implementation.
you. I was
Which
reading
would
wrong
still
there.
leave you a cushion of 617 to be used in the following years.
Okay.
So it would draw down that balance over the next few years to implement this program without an impact to the general fund.
Okay.
If the SAFER grant comes in, then you can, significantly
Really build
mitigate
it up.
that, yeah.
Yeah, really build it up. So the 501, the 53565 fiscal year 18, that includes your reorg also?
Yes, it does.
These numbers all include the reorg?
They
So-
they include 4 promotions of lieutenant.
Yeah.
It includes basically having the fire prevention person going back to shift, the deputy chief taking the fire prevention slot.
Swingman.
The swingman is now on shift, correct. Everything, all of the change is included with these numbers.
Okay, so Bonnie, for you, in this, what is it, a revolving revenue account? What is it?
It's called a receipts reserve for appropriation.
Okay,
it's
so,
a statutory.
so it's a receipts, so I guess, so town meeting assigns it to,
It's a statutory allowance, so it's an account that's always been in existence. At some point, the town accepted the statute. or
Okay.
It was approved at some point. So those receipts from ambulance revenues are just put into this account, and then we pick an amount every year used to offset the fire department budget.
okay, so that's based on your budget process with the chief. I guess my question would be, as these revenues increase, is it, do we tell the chief, okay, now you're in fiscal year 21, you have a $1.1 million balance?
We would have normally done that.
Okay.
I think just 2 or 3 years ago, we were using 287,000, and I think before that it was 250.
So
we've been
you make a
looking at-
fiscal decision based on what the department needs are and the revenues
The
coming
actual
in
receipts.
to do an offset? Okay.
Chief, any feedback from town members?
We have been
There's
bringing.
some change, so.
It is change. We've been talking about this for over a year with the potential. There are a few things that would change. It would eliminate the current on-call officer position that would be picked up by the full-time lieutenant. In the last year, there were almost 80 shifts that went uncovered, that the deputy or myself were covering, because the current officers had other commitments, or wanted the weekends off, or something to that effect, where those shifts were actually not filled. So unfortunately, it falls on the deputy or myself to have to cover that for the night. So this would eliminate that, and have the responsible person on shift to make the decision with the guys that are there, right now. Not have that lack of time and trying to bring the on-call officer in for the night and meet them on scene or assist them somewhere. The other thing that it would do is it would affect the per diem program on the weekends, because we would actually have the staff there right now. That is a program that is operated by the call department, or should I say, is utilized, we utilize the call members to fill those shifts. And we would still keep that line, because we would still utilize those. Once you put it out to the members to fill them, the full-time staff doesn't necessarily take all the overtime that's actually offered. So we still utilize the per diems to fill those shifts. We have the ability to fill those at the call rate and not the overtime rate. So that would still, it's one more way for us to utilize the call department members for filling shifts.
If I may, Mr. Chair. So I was looking at the wrong page, actually, I apologize. I was looking at the Safer Grant page. The one that concerns me is the, one, if we don't get the Safer Grant.
Yeah.
What's the sustainability of, as of, let's see, fiscal year 2021, receipts of revenue of 725 and using 850, 735, I'm sorry. 735 in revenue of 735 using 850, we're spending more than we're taking in. What happens when that trend continues and the bucket goes dry?
So, as I said, with these numbers, the numbers were conservative. Like I said, this doesn't include any mutual aid. This doesn't include additional services. We've talked in the past about offering community medicine. The community medicine program is coming across the country, and this puts us in a position to now offer that. So on top of doing the regular medic program, we'd be looking at creating a new revenue stream and offering the community medicine program, where we would actually go out to people that have had, seniors that have had procedures done. They're now home waiting for the nursing. Before the nursing kicks in, we would offer to come out and basically check on them, make sure that they're
Covered
doing
by
well.
insurances?
Covered by insurance. That's the trend that's going on across the country right now. Insurance is kicking in at lower rates. They would pay a smaller premium to have us come out and do that, yet they're not paying the significant fees of being transported to a hospital. And not only that, we were also conservative with these numbers on the increase. So as similar to, I've been talking to Westford for the last few days and looking at their numbers, and once they're in effect, after their second year of being fully operational, they could see the increase in revenue coming in just from the services that, that they were providing. These are conservative numbers.
Okay, so based on all that, are you comfortable with $120,000 makeup based on all those?
At the numbers that we've seen, yes.
Okay, all right, I
Yes.
mean, that's what you're looking at. I
Yep.
mean, you're deficient spending by 120 grand, and if you can make that up, that's all well and good. But,
Yep.
devil's advocate, you know what I mean? Murphy's
Absolutely.
Law. What is your stance gonna be when you have to come back to the town and say, we're not doing it, we're not making the money?
Being conservative, I'm going to be confident that we're going to make the money.
Okay.
On the same note, we're also increasing our service to a paramedic level with the run volume that's coming into this town right now, with the Emerson Hospital Urgent Care Facility that'll be opening next spring. That's going to increase our run volume as well. Westford alone, their urgent care facility, they had an additional 83 calls last year that were just to that facility. People come in there instead of going to a hospital. That's what we would be looking at, potentially running there upon calls for transport from that facility to a hospital. So the run volume is not going down. It's clearly on an uptrend where it's increasing over 100 every year for the last 6 years.
I'm gonna jump over the question. Bonnie might be better suited to answer it, but Scott, feel free to do it if you got the answer. Based on the existing service provider only collecting at about a 65% rate, if the existing revenue due to us, if we were realizing that at a 92% rate, you done that math?
These figures are based on the higher collection ratios from Coastal. We have experience with Coastal previously, and I can say with confidence that that's what their collection ratios are. I know there was some disagreement with Pro EMS about what their rate actually is, because it depends on whether you count what they charge off or not. So there's,
Fuzzy enough.
you can make it look at 90% if you want to. I know Coastal's math. I've had a lot of experience with them, and they've been very good to us in the past. But these figures incorporate their revenue projections based on our actual call runs from previous years.
Right, you alluded to that
Yes.
we used our existing numbers in order to
Correct.
correct some of these assumptions.
Through looking at our last fiscal year, we actually recognized there were 73 emergencies that were never billed for one reason or another. It's not known, but they were never billed. Of those, several of them were motor vehicle accidents. When you look at billing, a motor vehicle accident is our best revenue generator. Sure. Not that I'm looking to collect money from it, but it is. It's the auto insurance pays.
Right.
So there's no reduction in it. You receive 100% of it, and there were many of those that were vehicle crashes and that were never billed. So that's a little disturbing.
It was a busy year for you all in 495.
It's not over. It doesn't
Well, the
slow
year
down.
left, yeah. Well, I'm not gonna get into what our course of action is right now for holding them to the fire on those. I'm sure that you guys are
No,
taking action in that regard.
I wanted to get this out there, address the concern
Education.
of the ALS service and the significant delay that we're currently experiencing. And I don't see that getting any better, especially once they pull out of Acton. As we were able to see in some of the trends, the time, is a significant delay. We have also, we approached Air and Westford to see if they would be our provider, and simply because of the run volume, they would not be our primary provider, just for your own knowledge.
We're just too busy.
We're too busy, they're too busy. They're the primary provider for their own community. However, they are in favor of us having the discussions with them. They would sign on to be our backup, as well as us, as we would sign on to be their backup for an ALS service. They're all in favor of having the fire-based program, just because we're there in a significantly shorter amount of time than the hospital-based systems.
It's my last one, last request. I'd suggest that you hit both Paul and Melissa.
Yep.
Individually, so that they can get this presentation. It's a good presentation, great information to have.
Education.
Thank you.
Any questions, Joe?
No, all set.
All right, Chief, thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Helps to better understand it and gives an opportunity for folks at home to see it and folks here.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. All right. So, under Town Administrator, Assistant Town Administrator, Finance and Budget, we've got one item, which is household hazardous waste for the Devon's Regional Facility intermunicipal agreement, looking to add community of Pepperell to the intermunicipal agreement with Devon's, Air, Bolton, Groton, Harvard, Lancaster, Lunenburg, and Townsend.
And this facility was created by an intermunicipal agreement among those towns, and so every time another town is added, then it requires all the existing towns to approve that addition. So this is, I think, this is the fifth time that there's been an amendment to the original agreement to add a town, so. And it's a great facility. It's opened up many more opportunities for household hazardous waste than we were able to do, than we were able to provide in Littleton before we became a part of the region.
Right. I don't see any reason that we would have any issues with it.
Saving Mother Earth.
It actually helps because there's more communities to pay the capital fees.
Well, there you go.
Bring 'em in.
It's all prorated
More
based
than
on the number of
perfect.
communities, yeah.
Perfect.
Is it prorated based on the number of communities or based on the number of people that use the facility? So if we have 200 people that go and use the facility, but Pepperell only has 20, is it proportional or?
No, the fee is based on the usage.
So it's like a
I mean, their
homeowners
capital-
association
yeah,
dues?
yeah.
Okay. Gotcha, I'm sorry.
I'm good. You ready? Move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, subsection 4A, to authorize execution of the Fifth Amendment to the intermunicipal agreement by and among communities in Devon's region participating in the Devon's Regional Hazardous Products Collective Facility Program to admit the town of Pepperell into the collaborative.
Second?
Moved and seconded, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn there, Mr. Chair.
8:15. Write this down for Melissa.
She's probably watching streaming.
And, yeah, that's right, too.
And what? Paul?
And there are any number of reasons why.
Anybody can finish a meeting at 8:15 when Glavy's not here.
Well, actually, if we talked about the TIF,
It's been moved.
I haven't seconded yet.
I know.
Second.
And seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, hold on, don't turn it off yet.
Oh, yes.
Have not introduced our new member,
Main man.
our main man, Clancy Main, is our new Jen Gibbons, or our new,
Our new executive assistant.
What a way to get introduced.
welcome!
Thank you.
This is Clancy's first day on the job, and welcome to the town. Welcome to the new position, and look forward to many years.
Sounds good. Pleasure to be working with you.
And we normally don't get out of here at 8:15.
No, we usually don't. But Clancy knows that because he was here last week.
Yes, he was.
He was auditing the course.
Just noticed where the seating arrangement was
Yeah.
last week. Just saying. All right, it's moved and seconded. All those votes already voted, and thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night.